Top of the morning to you. I hope everybody is well and staying ahead of the game because it is a game which is all written and played out in the heavens and always has been. So thanks for joining me again today. Over the last week or so I've been looking at Aberdeen and the Aberdeen area, and on previous videos I spoke about Starforts such as Torry, Alton's, Tullis Hill, Ferry Hill, Castlegate and so on and so on. But these were all Starforts on 7 hills. Aberdeen itself is said to be built on 7 hills, which are Starforts. I have had some people from the Aberdeen area actually come and saying Aberdeen doesn't have any Starforts. Well, I'm sorry, but you're absolutely incorrect in what you're saying, because the book of Adam and Eve and the Cave of Treasures, which of course was removed from what we understand as the Bible, tells us that the whole earth is made up of pillars, and the Starforts are sitting on the pillars. In fact, the Starforts are connected to the heavens above, and since I've had an interest in standing zones and ley lines and sort of these kind of things since childhood, I'm now 51. I've been examining these things for many years, you know, since I was about 12-13 year old, and yeah, it's as above so below. It's everything down here is written in the heavens. So when people call them Starforts, star portals, it's because they are connected with the heavens up above. And this is Stellarium software here, so this is the heavens up above. And I'll just look here just to give a brief introduction. I've mentioned many times, I suppose, on my pages and posts and Facebook and stuff like that, but still a lot of people don't understand or understand, or they're not taking in what it is I'm saying, especially when it comes to the legal system, the law, and us being lost at sea according to Black's law and according to the elite's way of ruling things. We are all lost at sea. But what does that actually mean, to be lost at sea under the legal system? Well, this here in the heavens, Sagittarius, Scorpio, Libra, Virgo, Leo, Cancer, the gates of Cancer, Gemini, Capricorn, Taurus, Aries, Pisces and Aquarius, right in the end there. This is the bar, what we call the legal system. The legal system was actually stolen from Scots law. So another thing that people don't really understand, a lot of people are awakening up to the fact that the whole legal system is a fraud, and that all law emanates, or all law is dictated to the world, the entire world, not through the Vatican, not through religion, not through America, not through corporate trade as such, but all law emanates from the tree of life. And the tree of life is the spine of Albion, and here in the heavens this is the bar, the level. And the reason why it's called the bar, the level, is because it's the canopy of the tree, it's the upper canopy of the tree, and this is where we get the word Canaan, canopy. It's the canopy. P or pe is pi, measurements, pi, geometry. So the land of Canaan and pi. Pi is also where we get the word pe, pene, Peniel, which means in Hebrew or Hebridean, sorry, which means the face of El. So this here is the bar, the level. And in the Hebraic thought as well, a bar is a sun. So we read in the Bible how it's been translated today, or how it's been interpreted today. We read that Jesus was a son of the covenant, which means a bar of the covenant. And the word covenant is Brit, and or Bris if you're from Eastern Europe. Brit is where we get why. It's not where we get. It's why Britain is called Britain. It's the British Isles, and the British Isles is the covenant. The Brit meaning covenant. Yeah, and this here is the level. This from got here from south, west, west, north, west, north, north, east, and east, because this is how we would look up the UK. And here you have Orion's belt, and then you have the unique horn, and this is again Canaan, the land of Canaan. You've got Sirius, the dog star, arise. You've got Lupus down the rabbit hole. You've got Cetus, or the Kraken, the great beast. You've got Aries, which is the Lamb of God. Yeah. You've got Taurus, the Taurus field, and everything comes down this. The two horns of Taurus is the eyes of Ayin, which means the unknowable one, and Aldebaran. These two eyes represent the eye of Horus and the eye of Ra, which has been stolen because the Egyptians are not people. It was a Greek word, Egyptos, which means the lesser gods. Of course, the lesser gods are the ones who rebelled. And yeah, so the Kraken, which we recently had, not recently, it was a good while now, but one of the last sort of COVID variants was called the Kraken, and everything's written in the heavens here. We even hear people talk about, and this has been going on for a long time, people going on about bloodletting, and them drinking the blood and taking children, and paedophilia, and they need the adrenochrome. Well, adrenochrome is Andromeda, to do with Andromeda. This here is the blood of the Lamb, and in order to rise up, this is all over the northeast of Scotland, in order to rise up into Cassiopeia and into the house of Cephas, which is the house of resurrection, to be reborn you must be born of above, is what the person we understand is Jesus said. And this here, the Cygnus, the swan, as I've said many times, this is why the royals protect the swan, because the swan is the Northern Cross. And the harp here is King David's harp we read about in the Bible. And the fox here is the 666, F-O-X in the Greek. Ciphers of Gematria is F-O-X, is fox, 6 carp. And the reason why it's fox, and I was saying to somebody just last evening that we were talking about Diana and the Great Hunt, which happens through Orion's belt and the central area. It's the same story also with Odin and the Great Hunt, and just the same story, but male, female, Diana, Odin, and so on. But the fox is what we have going on in this world, which people are an outcry about, is the fox hunting, which a lot of the elites and the royals are part of. What was that all about? Well, Diana, the goddess Diana, connected to Princess Diana, but that's another story. The goddess Diana was the hunter, and she's connected with the stag, which also connects with the tree of life, and the antlers representing the branches, and so on and so on. There, the fox hunting became a sport of the elite. But the fox is, I hope people are getting what I'm saying here, 666. They were never hunting foxes. The goddesses and the gods were hunting people. These great lands that we live upon, these under Orion's belt, there was forests which the kings and those who ruled us had, and they would put the peasants, the commoners, into this is why common law is no good. It means people are talking about common law and stuff like that. Common law is no good because common law puts you under the bar, away from the Scots law, the legal system which is written in the heavens, and it makes us slaves. So they would send these commoners into the wooded areas and the hunting grounds, and they would hunt people and kill them. And the reason why it's now foxes that are used is because 666, we are carbon. We are the carbon they want to reduce. We are 6 neurons, 6 protons and 6 electrons. And so yeah, the fox and the hunting of the fox which we see amongst the elites today, is just a cover story for what they used to do. They never hunted foxes. They hunted the unique horn. And there was unicorns. The unique horn. And the unique horn is you, the Christ in you. Now there are many tapestries and pictures showing Diana the Great Hunt and all sorts of other gods on these, Zeus and Artemis and all these gods who are on a hunt, on a kill. And that's probably why we had recently Jeremy Hunt, I think it was. And Geronimo, if we know anything about Geronimo, Jeremy, there's more to the Jeremy, the Jaria, but that's why we probably had Jeremy Hunt in power, because they have to tell us all these things, everything actually. So let's go back to the bar. Now, why is it called the bar? This is what I've discovered since I've been studying this stuff for so long, since I was a child. So why is it called the bar? Because this here, the Great Bear, is Arthur the Great Bear, our Father who art in heaven. This is the ark here, and all the animals are contained, all the creatures are contained within the ark. Yeah, everything is between Ophiuchus, which is the Christ in you, wrestling with the great serpent or the Kundalini energies. Not saying that the Kundalini energies is the great serpent, I just correct myself there, in case people think that the great serpent of Revelation is connected to the Kundalini. It's not. But this represents you, and it also represents the strong man, which Christ or Jesus spoke about. You have to bind up the strong man, or hold back the strong man from coming into your house. And the house he's talking about is the house, the heavens, the house in the heavens. But the bear is Arthur the Great Bear, and the story that we understand of Jesus is the story of our Father who art in heaven, and the Great Bear and the little bear. And the little bear is this is Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, and as you can see here, the tail of the Draco. This is a great software. It really is great software. The animated images and so on in it are just phenomenal. It looks beautiful. But yeah, this is the core. Just while I pull out here and notice this, see that this is the core of the circle. The sun and the moon never move out of this. This is the circle of life, and the tree of life is here. You can see here that the souls from Orion are going down the tunnel, down the great Eridanus, the great river, and we want to stay up here on the level in the bar. Really, that's what we are. And how did we do that? How did our ancestors do that? Well, the reason how they done it is because Arthur the Great Bear, this is the ecliptic, and all the planets, the sun and the moon, travel through here, and all the planets, and they're the 12 witnesses, 13 witnesses if you count, or the 13 disciples that disciplined in the heavens. They move through the heavens, but as it says in the book of Jude, those who kept not their first abode, but they gave up their dwellings and came down. These are the planets that change their course, that do not stick to the course of the ecliptic, but they come in, which is Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, and so on. All these planets are not planets, but they are gods. They're light entities, light bodies, light energies which interact with the world, and they are angels or angles of light. And these angles of light are connected through the chakra system, the 7 sisters and the Pleiades, through our body. And the 7 planets themselves are the 5 planets and the 6 planets and sun and moon, because we've had other planets added since, but originally there were 5 main planets that ancestors were aware of, and as time has gone on with things like Pluto and so on, it's been added in. So, but the Pleiades represents the 7 chakras, the 7 churches, and the Pleiades sit down in sort of Fife, over Edinburgh, over the Firth of Forth, and over northern Stirling, Dunfermline, and that sort of area. That is where the Pleiades are. There are many people out there who are communicating, or believe they are communicating, and get revelations from the Pleiades, and people talking about med beds and all this kind of stuff being delivered from the Pleiades. Well, that is all nonsense. It's just absolute nonsense. It's not written in the heavens. The Pleiades and the heavens in the Pleiades, the sea nymphs as they were called, they're the ones who rebelled, and the planets are Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. These are all the planets that are interfering with the Pleiades, which is our chakra system. And the Pleiades are not here to help us in any way. Nobody is communicating. There are no angel or angelic realms communicating and telling us that this is going to end, and these med beds and all that. It's just absolute nonsense. If you know the heavens, if you know your biblical accounts, and if you know if you know your history, you'll find out that the Pleiades is the the ones who rebelled. You go to a church today, any church or any sort of religious denomination, whether Islam or anything, you pay a tenth or you pay a tithe, and a tithe usually goes into a dish or a bowl or a plate, and this is where we get the word Pleiades, plates. They take up an offering, a tenth. The tenth is connected to your Christ oil. We are given 100% Christ revelation in our being, because there is a being who came representing Arthur the Great Bear, who we understand is Jesus, and he did nail the sin wave, the negative energies in the underworld to the fixed cross, or the northern cross, sorry, in the heavens, which is Cygnus the swan. And the white swan with its yellow beak represents the yoke of creation. So rather a longer introduction here than I'd hoped, but what I want to look at and what I want to speak about is this is the central belt of Scotland. Where anywhere in Britain you look up and you'll see Libra to Aries, and in the middle there is Cancer. The Libra is the balance and the scales, and the Aries is the Lamb of God. Libra is a justice system, the legal system, and this is where it begins, the balance of the scales, through Virgo, Leo, Cancer. Cancer being the middle gate of Freemasonry, the middle door, the black and white, yin and yang, 69, which is the symbol for Cancer. And Libra is the first pillar of Freemasonry, and these are the 3 steps of Freemasonry up here, some say, which I believe is right, because the Corona Borealis, Corona, is here just to the edge of the Ark, and this is the Ark of the Covenant. So Noah's Ark, the Ark of the British Isles, the Covenant Isles, is written over Britain, but primarily the river, well, it's not primarily, the river of life. Glasgow was completely underwater, parts of Ayrshire were completely underwater, and they were connected by a canal system all the way through to the Firth of Forth, which, if you read books by Combs Beaumont, there's other books out there as well, I can't remember, Barry Dunsford, blah, 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 blah. There's quite a few books, I can't think of offhand, but this was the great river of life. And when you go to Edinburgh, you have the river of Leith, or you have Leith and the river of Leith. You also have in this area here the river Leven, or Loch Leven, life, Leven, Levi, live. And also over here in Ireland you have the river Liffey. And Ireland was once connected to Scotland. I said that in another video before. It was connected to mainland Britain, even though it was separated by isles. A great disaster happened and it's pushed everything away. The Giant's Causeway was, you know, in the sky here we see this ring in the heavens as the sun and the moon move around, and the Giant Causeway was actually a large circle, a large ring around the tree, spreading into Europe. And when I say ring, I mean a bridge, an arch. The Gaelic word for a bridge or a connecting point is ar, like Argyll, or, you know, Ardmore. It's a crossing point, a place between, and this is the bridge of heaven through the river of life, coming from Argyll, surprisingly, right through to the Gyll centre. And the word Gyll in Edinburgh, the word Gyll, and even St Giles Cathedral, St Giles Cathedral is the temple of the Gael, the ghost, the Holy Ghost, the holy people. And This is the river of life, and this is the great tree of life, what's known as the Eridanus River. You can take up your cross daily, as Jesus says, following the sun, the moon, the stars through the heavens to understand the calendar. But the pinnacle of it all, something that never moves, is the bar, or the bear, Arthur the Great Bear. And so we have father and son, and this is where the legal system comes from. Arthur the Bear never disappears below the horizon. He's always just on the horizon, even on the 21st of December and the 23rd of December, when you've got the winter solstice, when the sun dies for 3 days and lies in the tomb, and then appears again on the 25th to be reborn again. Even though the sun disappears, Arthur remains. Now, people are saying, "Oh no, this is rubbish. This is not." It's not. We have Arthur's Seat. We have a place called Tap of the North in Riney. We have a Arthur connection in Carlisle. We have an Arthur connection in well, all over Britain and Europe, but the places named Arthur in places such as Wales, and it's not because Arthur was from there. He ruled the whole of the Isles of Britain under the Great Bear. He is our Father and the Son of the Divine in the heaven, and this never moves. And what I'm going to show, will come down now, what I'm going to show is how the canal systems works, because as I said before, between in these blue or dark spaces, between the constellations and the stars, the three main stars in every constellation what are called deacons, between there is waterways, ancient salt waterways, which in the last few weeks and months we've seen a lot of flooding in Scotland, and most of these waterways are filling up again. The levee, when the levee breaks, I think it's is that a Led Zeppelin song? It comes from somewhere else anyway, but a levee is a bank, it's also a priest, the levee, but it's a bank on a canal system, and when these levees break, when these canal banks break and fill up again, what I believe we're going to see is the salt water will return inland and repower these ancient castles, Starforts, and so on. In fact, that's what I believe is happening. The sun itself today, our sun, it used to be yellow, but it's white. The sun's energy is changing, and of course that's why they're spraying the skies, because they don't want that sun's energy to illuminate our inner standing. And yeah, that's why people are awakening, or coming around to what's going on. So I'm going to show you, we're going to go back to Aberdeen again, but we're not going to look at Aberdeen as such. We're going to keep over this next 8 or 9 recordings, 10 recordings that I have. We're going to, or I have began. We're going to look at the whole area of Aberdeen and show that there's Starforts. And I have had people say, "Oh, there's no Starforts in Aberdeen." That's because we're looking at what we've been programmed to think are Starforts. Everything is Starforts. As I said there at the beginning of this recording, the book of Adam and Eve and the Cave of Treasures quite clearly tells us that Adam and Eve were buried in a garden to the west, which is Britain, and the body of Adam, he was a giant. This is the body of Adam, and this is the body of Eve, Europa. Eve's head is, this is why you have the whole Mary Magdalene stuff, and Eve's head's there. She's, there's her nose, there's her eye, and Eve is Hava, and means life in Hebraic, and this is the body of Adam, and most of his head is bigger, much bigger. People look and say, "Oh, look at the size of Eve then. If that's supposed to be Eve, Hava, she's huge compared to Britain." Well, Britain was destroyed. Atlantis sat here and Britain was destroyed. The stars fell from the heavens and comets struck and completely devastated, separating all the land and tearing down the great tree of life. But the energy itself is still there in the spine of Albion. So what we're going to look at is the thing that holds everything together, which is Arthur the Great Bear, really. And we're going to move around Aberdeen, but I'm going to move up in this presentation. I'm going to move up the bay. We did look at another one, another presentation about Trump's golf course and, you know, the Many Estate and all that. But what I want to look at is the ancient waterways that exist today. Now we're looking at a place called Newborough, and Newborough is just, I don't know, is it about 10 miles north, 12 miles north of Aberdeen, roundabout. And as it says, New Borough. A borough is the bar. Yeah, bar is the legal system. So this is the new bar, the new borough. I did highlight this in the previous video because I remember looking at this thinking, well, look at that tower pulling down electricity. But these were ancient canal systems between the stars, and hopefully you'll be surprised as I look at these, as we zoom in. We'll look at some places and we'll follow these waterways all the way through, and I'll try and identify the stars. Well, I won't try it, I will identify the stars in relation to the towns, the cities, the castles and so on. It's a vast subject. It's a multiplicity of different concepts which have all been separated and decompartmentalized so that we don't see the bigger picture. But if you understand the heavens, if you understand standing stones, if you understand recumbent stones, if you understand Masonic pillars, obelisks, if you understand what the towers and buildings and domes in our cities are, if you understand what the word city represents, it represents bar, a legal system, a borough. When you understand these things and you understand language, you understand the Bible, when you understand what the Bible's actually telling you, because it's a coded book, beginning with Genesis 1:14, it tells you that we observe the heavens, and that is the seasons, the calendars for us. Whereas now we're not even keeping the Creator's calendar, seasons, times, and we certainly don't know anything about Arthur the Great Bear being the centre of the wheel of time. Now, why is Arthur so important? Our Father. Why is our Father who art in heaven? Art is an old Gaelic Welsh word which means bear. Why is our Father who art in heaven so important? Because Polaris sits near the tail and the foot of Arthur, our Father, the Great Bear. And if you take one of these time-lapse videos, everybody who was going on about the flat earth and all that would put these time-lapse videos showing the Polaris, the North Star and the Great Bear spinning round, and if you speed it up on a time-lapse, you'll see that everything goes anti-clockwise and the houses move clockwise, the 12, 13 houses under Arthur's feet. So everything is at the feet of the Father, our Father, the Great Bear, and the 13 houses, 13 disciplines. And once we understand how the 13 houses interfere or interreact with our chakra system, and how the spine of Albion, the ley line, and the body of Jacob, and how and the body of Adam, and how this all works, then we can't be deceived. Like I said, it's multiple. There's multiple ways of verifying and witness to this. And as I said to somebody yesterday, I was talking to someone yesterday, and I says, well, the person was a Bible believer and had been a Bible believer for 30 odd years. I was too, and I still am a Bible believer, but I understand it. I know it different now from what I understood when I was training to be a rabbi within Judaism. I understand it different, completely different. I gave up Christianity many years ago and thought, well, Jesus is a Jew, so surely I should be living Judaism. And I left Christianity and went into Judaism and trained for nearly 11 years to be a rabbi. Obviously I never completed that because in 2012 I awoke, and by 2013 I had left the synagogue that I was part of, and everything that I couldn't continue anymore, because I realised that it was here, and the biblical story was here, the narrative was all here, and the things that I had learned as a child about the heavens and about the movement of the constellations all fell into place once I began to study the Hebrew language. I began to realise that it's a narrative that's written in the heavens, and it's not in the Middle East, it's written here. I've been to Israel many times, and you know, sometimes we went twice a year. And I used to go to Israel, in the Middle East that is, and I used to think, yeah, there's something not right. You know, you go down to the Kotel, the wall, where everybody prays, the Wailing Wall, as they call it, and I don't know, it wasn't right. It became, something wasn't right about it. I mean, even Israel today is only 9 miles wide, so you begin to, well, I did. I began to look at places where I was visiting and trying to align that with what the Bible was telling me, and nothing was where it was supposed to be. And because I've always had an interest in the heavens as well, I would often look at the heavens when I was over in Israel, you know, on a phone, on an app, the Stellarium software, and nothing ever matched up. I was thinking, well, how can that be the Holy Land? And it was around about 212. Well, it was 212. There was a few things happened, and I realised that is not the Holy Land, but it's actually here. And it took me a long time, maybe 3 to 5 years, because of my own prejudices and my own indoctrination. It took me a long time to put down the idea that what we understand as Christianity and Judaism happened in what we call the Middle East. It took me ages to accept that none of it happened there, and it was all written here in the heavens. And it all connects to our father, the Great Bear, the Bar Arthur. There is a legend or a saying that in the time of Britain's greatest need, in the hour of Britain's greatest need, Arthur will rise up. And yeah, Arthur represents the Christ in us, and you know, this is what the Druid Jesus has shown us. So we're going to look at the waterways. Like I'm saying, here is these waterways between. Okay, so you know, so, and this is what we're going to look at here, just briefly. So this is very interesting. We're at Newbarra. Okay, and there is a lot of strange things here. Of course, this eastern coast has been dramatically changed. Golf courses all the way up this coast, and they're all called links. The Links Golf Course, and you know, Balmeedy Links Golf Course, and Newborough Links Golf Course, and then you've got the Trump International Golf Course, and then you've got Newborough Golf Course, Wything Golf Club. I'm probably saying that again wrong, but the Ethan, or the Wything River feeds out down here into Newborough. But let's look at the topographic map, which shows us the water levels. So let's look at the topographic map of Aberdeen and, well, especially Newborough. And a topographic map, as it says, it shows you here, shows you the water levels. What was below water level is in the blue, and as it rises up into the green, you're obviously rising up above the water level, 25 metres, 34 metres, 43 metres, 62 metres, and so on. So all this blue area was lost at sea. All this blue area was the sea, and there are starforts in there that have been built, and Trump himself is on a big starfort. But what we're going to look at this area here now, bearing in mind this is minus, it says here -2 metres below sea level, 0 below sea level, 3 metres, 6 metres, 9 metres. You know, it doesn't take much, or it didn't take much in the past, for the waters to rise up and the salt waters to come in. And this is what these big valleys are. The salt water, the tide would go out and the tide would come in, and the castles in the States are on the starforts. They are starforts. There are starforts everywhere. The whole world is covered, and everything is starforts, and everything else that we see in between is land that has been taken back from the sea. So I said in a previous video as well that you have the people like Klaus Schmitz, is it, whatever his name is, or the World Economic Forum, and all these people saying that there's not enough land, the earth is overpopulated. They're actually telling us the truth. That might be hard for people to accept, but they're actually telling us the truth, because much of what we see of this earth, much of what we understand of the earth, today is land that has been claimed back from the sea, and through agriculture, through forestry, through quarrying, and stuff like that, they have managed to remove the waterways, lower the water, and yeah, build new land. I was speaking to someone yesterday as well about the Mediterranean, and I mean, it's all language, it's all language. The Mediterranean is the middle terrain. Med. We had Greenwich Mean Time, and that's what Arthur is. Arthur is the Med. All time comes from Greenwich Mean Time, and all time comes from Polaris, the pole star, which sits at Arthur. If you go to America today, wherever you are, you'll be 10 hours ahead GMT. You'll be 9 hours, 15 hours ahead of your, whatever in Australia or Perth. No matter where you go, the whole Earth is calculated, or time is calculated from the Tree of Life, from Arthur the Great Bear, and from Greenwich Mean Time, which aligns in London with straight up, direct north into Polaris and our Father who art the Great Bear, who art our Father who art in heaven. And so you can't get away from this. You can't say, oh no, that's just your idea, Stephen. It's not just my idea. There are many people out there who are studying this. I mean, I've been studying this 30 odd years. No, more than that actually, because I'm 51, so I get interested in standing stones and ley lines and constellations at the age of 10, 12 year old. So I've been studying this for a very long time, and the witnesses are in the heavens. But I was saying to somebody yesterday, it's not just the witnesses that are in the heavens. The witness, as above, so below, as within, so outwith. The witness, or the truth of this, is also in the workings of our anatomy and the brain. And even what's up there, you've got the fornax. These are all parts of the brain. If you look, I said to someone yesterday when we were yapping, if you look at Grey's Anatomy, the terms that we see in Grey's Anatomy in regards to the human anatomy, the human body, the living body, not the human body, but the living body, these are all written in the heavens, but not just in the heavens, they're also down here too. So it's not a case of, oh, this is just what you think, Stephen. No, it's not just what I think. There are many seeing this, maybe not as advanced as I have, but then again, I've been doing this since I was 10-year-old. So, and most people were oblivious to the corruption, and it was only when the boosters and the shots and the jabs and people began to realise that we're being controlled. But people really don't see how deep the control is, and because they've isolated everything. They don't have us looking at the heavens. They don't have us knowing the truth about language. They don't have us knowing that the whole narrative of what we call the Bible is actually a conglomeration of stories throughout the Druid and the Celtic Pictish world, and it became what we know as the Bible today. And most people don't realise that Jesus Christ, or the Messiah, is representative of Arthur, our father, the little, he only follows his father, he's the little bear. Most people don't understand all this, and you need to bring all these things together in order to get a clearer picture of what really is going on. But the waterways and where we live is very important. So you can see here that there is a vast, this is this is the channel today, channeling energy, but it was much larger. There's a starfort right there. I showed that one before, and as it comes up through between the stars, you will discover starforts and such, which are the estates representing the stars in heaven. So this was a great waterway, and as we can jump back to the topographic map, you can see here that all of this area as far back as Newborough was more or less at sea, and this is why they have everybody lost at sea under the legal system, because most people have houses where the waters used to be. Housing estates are no longer the estates that were up high where they enslaved us, but they put us into housing estates in order to control us through the hidden waterways that were once there. And I mean, the Bible talks about people mock the Bible and think, oh, it's been written by that. It's not. Yes, they put it together and decided what was going into it, but the Bible is a wonderful code book, and the Bible tells us when you build a house, if there's dampness in it, mould, take the bricks out, rebuild it. If it comes back, move the house. But most of our homes in these council estates are damp, they have issues, rot, mould, and we're breathing all that in, and it's lowering our immune system, making us ill, because these houses are all built in swamps. Now you got people like Trump and others that let's drain the swamps. Where, you know, the swamps are all around us, and people are being forced to live in the lower areas, in the housing estates, which were once waterways, but now bogs and swamps. And over the last few weeks and months, we've actually seen a lot of flooding in these waterways, as I said before, coming back again. So this is known as the Ithen estuary, and this is the river Ithen, which runs through Ellen, and we're going to look at Ellen. You can see all this area was underwater. And what I'll do quickly, I don't want this video to go on, it's went on so long enough so far, but what I'll do is I'll drop down and I'll show certain things. So here we are between the stars, and you know, here's your Ochmoy estate. So Ochmoy estate is just a giant starfort. I have showed that the starforts were channeling the water in and then harnessing that energy to provide free power. So as we follow around the River Ithen, we come to Ellen, and I wanted to speak about the Great Bear, and there's a reason why, is because, you know, they mock us, they set everything up so that we can quite clearly see it but not understand it, or not take it in and know it. We have witnesses in the heavens, we have a witness within ourselves, we have the witness as the Messiah, and we have the witness on the earth. And yeah, and our own experience of our five senses brings us five witnesses. So people can't turn around and say, oh, there's no starforts here, or this isn't true, or that's not true. No. Everywhere starforts sitting in pillars, and what we understand as waterways were actually not fresh waterways, but salt canal systems that came in and fed the energies, representing the path of the planets, what we call planets, the wandering stars, also representing the houses. So we can see here, I'm hoping that everybody can see it, there's a starfort here, right there. I've actually done a number of posts on this one. So there's a star, and this is called Esselmont, Esselmont. So there's a starfort there, and then there's a starfort right here where the castle is. Ellen itself is a starfort. They built the golf courses. This was a giant waterway coming down, which fed down. None of these houses were here in it, and if you go to this area, you can actually see that this was an ancient waterway, but because of golf courses and stuff like that. You know, if you go to Ellen, I was up there quite recently, you've got the Maudley Burn. This wasn't a burn, this is a massive river, a massive waterway separating the two stars, this little star here and the biggest star here. And Ellen itself probably does represent Arthur the Great Bear. If I zoom out, you can see the bear. See the head of the bear? And this is probably the furthest point Arthur moves to over the British Isles before he is seen over other parts of Northern Europe. So it would make sense that they have Arthur, the Great Bear, and the Little Bear represented in the shape. You know, these developers, and you know, that's why you've got planning permission. You're not allowed to put a shed up in your garden, you're not allowed to build an extra wall, you've got to be so many metres. They don't want the energies to change. These are starforts, and if you suddenly go out with the boundary of that starfort and start building a massive wall, what you're doing is changing the energies. So they want to control the energies very much. So councils and planning authorities are very strict in the UK what you can and what you cannot build, because they don't want the energies changing. They want to continue controlling us and hiding these things. So this here was a giant waterway, much wider than we understand today. You can see here all this was underwater. Most of Ellen was underwater, yet here we have the Great Bear sitting here. You see, it's still there. And that's the Starfort of Esselman, and this is the Starfort of Ellen itself, which represents the Great Bear. Sorry, the Starfort of Esselman is up here. Sorry about that. That's the Starfort, which you can quite clearly see, and this is not so clear, but it's there. How do you find these things? How do I find out these things? Well, what I do is I get down, boots on the ground, and I've travelled all over Britain, Europe and stuff like that, but recently, I've not been able to go abroad, but I'm travelling all over Britain, mapping the heavens, mapping the waterways. Now I've zoomed out, and when you leave this for a moment, you will see that this was a giant waterway. These were all the Thracian and Greek isles. Greece over in the Mediterranean is not the true Greece. In fact, all our water has gone into the middle terrain. What we understand of the Mediterranean Ocean today is, after this great catastrophe that happened, the Pillars of Hercules is the Rock of Gibraltar, and it was broken up, the rock, and it opened a sinkhole basically, and that's why they get everybody to go to the Mediterranean. Because people say to me, Stephen, well, if this was all waterways, where did all the water go? The Mediterranean. That then throws a whole spin on what the shape of the earth is. Is it flat? Is it, concave, convex? It's not any of these things, but I mean, I can't go into that just now, but there are people out there promoting the concave earth, which is just nonsense. It's just another psyop after the flat earth. The earth isn't flat either, it's a flat plane, yes, but we're an ever expanding consciousness. But the water itself is memory, and memory has been removed. The marée has been moved, the bride and the groom, the marriage has been broken, the age of the water has been broken, and everything has now ended up in the Mediterranean. For a reason, they want to hide the tree of life. So we can see here that this was just a huge waterway, which went all the way back to Ethan Bank, which is the source of the river Ethan, or Ithen, and it heads up to Meslick. Just a huge canalway. You see that the many waterways continue up, and these were salt waterways that fed in, and castles and towers. This is why Ellen has a castle, and all these places have towers and castles in the Starforts, usually somewhere near the centre. This is why Ellen Castle is where it is, because it is in the centre of the Starfort. And I've mentioned in other videos that there are 3 deacons. I think I mentioned in this one too. There are 3 main bright stars in every constellation, and those 3 deacons is why we have so many churches. A deacon is what a leader is in a church, but it also represents the bright stars. And I mean, as many have said to me, you've got a Episcopal church, you've got the Presbyterian church, you've got the Free Kirk, you've got the Church of Scotland. Why is there so many churches in a village? Why do we have churches in the middle of nowhere? When you drive around anywhere in the UK, you find churches like, before we had cars, you find churches that have been built in the 12, 13, 1400s, and yet there are no communities around. How did people attend church? Did they walk it? Because there were no cars and there were no roads. No, these weren't churches, they were charge houses representing the deacons or the stars in the heavens, which it brings its energies down here, it manifests onto this earth. So there's the Great Bear. Arthur representing the Great Bear and the Little Bear, and it passes, as we look through, you can still see all the ancient waterways, and as I said, the quarrying. Flip back again, we'll go down back to Ellen and so on. Let's go back all the way back to Ellen. There's Ellen here, all this area. So this is the area we're in on the map here. It's all water, and what we understand is the River Ithen. The River Ithen, I've got family in Ellen. The River Ithen overflows dramatically. It bursts its bank many times, and this is it. This was a massive waterway. Quarrying has got rid of it. Quarrying has taken away all the water, and as I said, most of the water is down in the Mediterranean. So you can follow this all the way down. There's huge bodies of water still there. You know, these things that they call locks or lakes in England, they're not locks or lakes. These were saltwater canal systems feeding the castles, estates, and representing the stars up above, as we see here. And you know, the gaps between, as I said before, the gaps between the constellations are the waterways. Yeah, and this is why you have the whole Mary and Joseph and Jesus story, the Christ oil in us, and Mary is maritime and Joseph is the one who adds. It means the one who adds. It's much deeper, and I can't really go into in this, but yeah, this is what they're actually hiding. These were power stations connected to the heavens, and this waterway follows all the way through. I've showed you before, Methlic, eventually reaches 5e, and eventually it reaches the 5e castle. These are all starforts. I'm not going to go into showing exact starforts. If anybody wants to see what the starforts are, I'm more than willing to give tours. I'm more than willing to take people around Aberdeen and show them the starforts. I've got people out there that say there's no starforts in Aberdeen. Well, I'm sorry, you're wrong, completely wrong. I can identify every starfort. I can identify every mound, every foot of the starfort. I can identify the centre of the starfort, but not only that, I can identify with the heavens above. Aberdeen sits under and Aberdeen Shire sits under the House of Cephas, and yeah, northern Scotland itself sits under Arthur the Great Bear, and these waterways fed around the castles and stars. These were massive waterways feeding the whole of the islands that we understand as the United Kingdom. As above, so below. And anyone who's been to, this is Tariff we're looking at here, anyone who's been to Tariff will know that this is just huge valleys. And let's do that actually. Let's go a little journey and we'll finish it off. We'll use the Google man, the little Google man, we'll drop him in, and we'll go out the roads following the waterways, and we'll see what we get. So let's go right there. Boom. No, it's not going to let me. What's going on? hey. So here, this land is extremely flat because it was all water, and where did I come out here? Where am I? Okay, back. I don't know where I've come out here. Okay. Yeah, see the water here? This is just a huge waterway coming around. And the roads follow that waterway. In fact, the roads today, we never had roads 100 years ago. This is the bank, this is the river, this is the water. And as I said, our towns and cities, these are starforts. They're built in these starforts. So, you know, this is Arthur the Great Bear, so let's turn round. Let's leave Arthur or Elon, and let's head out, you know, these estates, these roads, and show you where the forestation is and the valleys are. What I'm going to do is yeah, this is the sort of main road between, am I in the right place? Yeah, this is the main road between Ellen and sort of Old Meldrum. This was an ancient waterway, and when you're travelling here you can see quite clearly. You go down to this road here, it's the A920, and it's just completely flat, but over the last few weeks and months these have just become bogs with the heavy rain, because the water ran all the way along here. I grew up in this area, I've got family in this area, I lived here for most of my life in this area, so I know everywhere. I've walked a lot of places, and this here is giant waterways. So let's come out. I'll follow this waterway all the way around. You can actually see bodies of water, and you know, it's going to show. Yeah, these roads were massive bodies of water, and the water ran through here. This part here, you can actually still see the bodies of water. You know. And at this side of the road it ran all the way around, and it came out. Well, that's the Maiden Road. If I went the wrong way, oh aye, I went the wrong way, didn't I? Did I? Hold on. I ain't got my glasses on again. I should really get my glasses. Oh, that's why I've turned it round. Turned it round. Sorry, folks. So yeah, I was way up there. How do we end up down there? So this road is this road here is an ancient waterway, hidden with golf courses and so on. This whole area is bog, all waterways. You can still see the bog. Look, it feeds down, and then they plant all the trees. There's bodies of water here. These were all islands, separate islands. The whole earth is Starforts. Although people will object to that and say, no, I've never seen a Starfort. Well, I have. Every city, every town, every village, everywhere are Starforts, and you just cannot escape that. And the distilleries that we have, so many distilleries in Scotland, spring water places, these places have also exported the waters, the whiskey bonds and stuff. James Bond. So yeah, this I'm hoping to find. Oh, hold on. Old Meldrum was just there. So I know outside Old Meldrum you've got the Lochter Estate, and the Lochter, see the water, the Lochter Activity Centre, and here's the water here, all drained to little bodies of water. This here is water, that's water feeding down. Look at the ground, there's the water again, all drained away of course, and this huge valley wraps around all the way around, and it comes where all these trees are being put in deliberately to soak up the water, because obviously the trees will drink the water, and the more trees they put in, the more it takes the water away. You can see with the scar on the land here, the King's Burn. This is massive waterway, and Jackton, and here. The other thing as well, the standing stones. I've always been interested in standing stones, recumbent stones and stuff like that. The standing stones and recumbent stones aren't what we think they are. The standing stones are sitting on pyramids or hills, on Starforts, and they're boundary markers really for the water levels. So the water would get too high, the people would know, oh, it's coming up to the top of the hill where the standing stones are. But not only that, the standing stones were harnessing the energies of the waterways. When water passes, it's negative and positive ions. The negative ions is what we need in order to encourage us and boost us on, and to lift us up. And they knew that, so they blocked them all. So and made us follow the rules. That little place there, follow the rule. Every time I see that sign I think, oh, follow the rule. That's just strange. So you can see here large forests, large bodies of water. All this here is a waterway, and yeah, I was going to drop in on the actually I should drop in and I should show some of the parts. I mean, this road here is the main road that takes you up to Huntly, but this is the bank of the water. If I was to come, let's drop in it anyway. Let's drop in to Tillymorgan, because Tillymorgan and the hill of Tillymorgan is an interesting place. If you look down there, you see that's the huge waterway down there. It's just a little trickle of water now, but that huge waterway, Berryhee Mountain Range over there, these are pyramids, and all these valleys are huge waterways. Of course, they've been heavily forested now, as I said, to draw and soak up the water. And this huge waterways continue. If we zoom on, the hill of Tillymorgan is a huge pyramid, and of course you have a commercial place just Is it there? I think we may have passed it already. There's a commercial takeaway thing there, and wherever you get water, you get merchants. I said that another thing on other videos. Let's do a little bit. You actually see it better in this 2D. You can see the water, and what became our roads are actually the banks of these ancient salt canal systems. It spins round. When you're driving along here and you're looking out, it's a deep valley. It drops down, and it's just the same as you coming out of Aberdeen at Bucksburn. You've got the River Don, you've got Muggy Moss and all that further, down. It's a way down, and these are the slopes of pyramids. If I were to, drop anyway here, he's not let me again. If I was to drop anyway here, no, get closer. A96, drop. No, why is it not letting me on? Why is it not letting me on? Yes, if I was to drop here and just give you a shot, that there, pyramid. That there, pyramid. That over there, not so much that one, but these are pyramids. And of course there was a massive flood which blocked all this up, blocked the channels up, and they had to put us into these waterways in order to control us, because we are 80% water and salt. But I've been up and down this road so many times, and once you understand that these are canal systems sitting in pyramids structures, there's no getting away from it. The pyramids that we understand in Egypt, which is not the real Egypt, because there was no Egypt, but anyway, that's another story. These pyramids that are in Egypt are, just for show, because the entire earth itself is pyramidal structures, and that is why places like America, you have the dollar bill with a pyramid on it. They're showing us these things, and people think it's all for evil. It is evil, but it's much deeper. Now you can see here, this takes us into a lovely little Starfort, which is Huntly. So you've got the Tesco here that sits on the foot of a Starfort, and it goes all the way around. You get a little foot here, and then you get a little foot here, and then it comes around and up. You have the other foot in here, which is geometrically the same as that, and then you've had there is a Starfort up here. But another thing about this, this is Battle Hill area of Huntly, is it? Yeah, Battle Hill. The reason why they have these battles as well, whether it's Bannockburn or it's because it's in the ancient waterways. They're slaughtering the English. Mostly we're slaughtering the Scots in these waterways. There's much darker, horrible things going on there can you possibly cover in just this video. But these here are Starfort canal systems, and the castles. I mean, this is the River Devon, but this is just a giant waterway. Like I said, forestry and so on, mining and quarrying. Have removed the waters. There we go. Look at that giant waterway there, and it's the same everywhere. These isolated fisheries and bodies of water aren't randomly isolated. They were giant waterways, and carrying the salt water into the towns, cities, villages around the Starforts, and that salt water contains electrical charge. They would pull down the electricity through the steeples, the towers, the resonators and the domes, and they would split the hydrogen H2O water to create free gas and free electricity. And the only way they could hide all this after the flood and the great disaster happened, when everything choked up, the only way they could hide this and take control is by moving us into these areas and rewriting our history through religion. So I hope this helps a little bit to further advance your understanding. It is a vast it's a vast topic. Even when I try to give tours and talks about it, people are at various levels of understanding, various levels of what they understand to be awake, And sadly the majority are just chasing nonsense, what has already been prepared in advance. The whole Q, Trump, Julian Assange, all these people, Chelsea Manning, and even some of the big truthers that are out there, obviously like David Icke, and there's loads of them. These people are being put there to keep us busy and to feed us with false information. If people aren't speaking about the legal system, and they're not speaking about what's up there in the heavens, what the legal system is, that the bar is the great bear that sits Arthur, and that all time and everything comes from the great bear, our father. If they're not speaking about that, if they're not speaking about Starforts, if they're not speaking about the legal system, and if they're not pulling all this information together, if they're not speaking about language and deception of spells and legal frauds and straw man, and if they're still promoting Christianity, if they're still promoting the Bible as the Word of God, which it is, but it's not Christianity, it's not Judaism, it's not Mormonism, it's not any of these invented religions which were created to control us. If people aren't speaking about these things, which I'm speaking about, if they're not at least looking at it, then there's a good chance that that being or that person or persona is just a shell, a means to control and a means to keep everybody focused on the things that do not matter rather than the things that matter. Everything's written up there in the heavens, and you have multiple witnesses. As I said, the witnesses inside our DNA, the witnesses inside our physical body, the witnesses inside our brain, the witnesses is also written in the heavens, and we have what we understand as the Word of God, to decipher and read. And the Word of God, Genesis 1 tells us, and I say this a lot, all the time, Genesis 1:14 tells us how we calculate time and how we calculate where we are and who we are before the Almighty Creator. It tells us, Genesis 1:14, you shall observe the sun, moon and the stars, they shall be as signs and seasons for you. This is something that they've taken away from us. They've given us the Julian calendar, they've given us the Gregorian calendar, they've given us the Chinese calendar and the Himalayan, all these calendars, and it's all to move us away from Arthur the Great Bear and Greenwich Mean Time, or not Greenwich Mean Time, but everything that's measured from Greenwich looking direct north to the Polaris. This is something that our ancestors knew. You navigated the high seas, which is a term for the legal fraud, but you navigated the high seas and avoid the pirates. I mentioned the word pie right at the beginning, Peniel. The pirates, the ones who charged you, the one who told you, to take a toll. I was saying something to somebody yesterday as well, like all these waterways are sitting with industrial estates usually, or garages, or petrol stations, or these are merchandise corporate bodies, and in the ancient times you would be charged a toll. This is why you have the toll booth, the toll cross, and all these different places. That every town has a toll, and as you come in you would pay the toll charge or the ferryman charge. And it's the same today. I said this yesterday to someone I was with. It's the same even now. When you go to a shop to buy anything merchandise in their world, you hand over the currency, which is a coin or a note, a promissory note, with two heads usually on it, most often the Queen or the King or whoever, and you have the front of the head and the back of the head on the coins. You're wandering around dedicating your currency. People are saying, let's save the money. No, get rid of the money. Let's save the credit cards. No, get rid of get rid of it all. This whole system has to go. The entire lot of it has to go, because these two heads that we see in the coins, they represents the gods, the fallen ones, and you're carrying around metal, gold, just metal. Somebody said, oh, but it's not silver anymore, and it's not gold, and it's not even bronze, it's not even copper, it's just not precious metals, and it doesn't matter. Metal is met is death, and al is El, and El is God. Minerals, metals, it's all connected to the gods. But people are carrying these frequencies and currencies dedicated to the gods, whether it's Queen Elizabeth or King Charles or whoever wants to call himself a king or queen, but they put the two heads, and it's connected to January. Most people know that January is Janus, the double-headed god, looking back and looking forward, and of course that's what they are, but we're carrying that currency in our pocket, and people are screaming, let's save, pay cash. No, get rid of it all. We're not at that stage that we can get rid of it all yet, because we need communities that can be involved in bartering, and again that takes us back to the word bar, tor, bar, the legal system, tor, the tourist field. We used to barter our goods, we used to swap what people are calling today energy exchange. They don't want money. We shouldn't have money. Money is the worship of the moon, and we cannot worship, that's where we get the word monnaie, and we cannot move into the first chakra. We can't move past the first chakra unless we're observing the sun, moon and stars, and monnaie keeps us in that lower flesh. It keeps us chasing the dream that never comes. It keeps us honouring the gods that never were. And we need to get rid of that whole system, the entire system. Currency needs to go, money needs to go. And when you go to a shop, I was talking about toll roads, toll booths, you paid a toll. Even today, this is sorry what I was going to say, I'm going to finish off here, but even today, I'm going to wrap up what I'm speaking, but even today when you go to a shop to buy merchandise, to a corporate place or anywhere, petrol, diesel, when you pay, the money goes into a till, so you're still paying your toll. Yeah, life takes its toll, because these bastards, excuse my language, but these bastards are hiding and robbing from us and tolling us. You know, life takes its toll, and we need to end all that. We need to understand how the heavens work, how Arthur the Great Bear works, and that there is an almighty creator that's provided everything. And that great wheel of Arthur, which I just seen actually on my desktop there, Arthur sits here on the poster, and we all move round in an anti-clockwise direction. The heavens itself, this represents us. We are one of those stars. You know your moon sign, you know your sun sign, your ascending sign, your descending sign. You'll know exactly as the house has come through. And this is what our ancestors knew. Arthur and Polaris, our father, the little bear, and the great dragon that's in the heaven. The great dragon which is in the heaven is separating Arthur and child, our father and son. This is why corporations have father and son. You never used, you probably do now, but you never used to see, you know, John Harper and son. You never used to see Josephine Harper and daughters. It's all bars, son. A bar means son. You know, because it represents Arthur, our father and son. And you see the great dragon, which the book of Revelation talks about. That great dragon shall be cast down, because the tail is separating Arthur from his child, father from us, and this is the ark of heaven, which we need to rise up into and understand how it works. This is also the brain. As I said, you've got the fornix, you've got the hippocampus, and even the tribes of Britain are named such. So your Brigantia and all that are down here. Brigantia is the bridge that takes you over. You've got the Silurians, who are the territory of Judah. You have the Dalriada, which is Dal Ruach, Dal Reach, Dal, the door of Ruach, the spirit, the breath, the gale. Ruach is the Hebrew word for, you know, Dal Reach, Dal Reach, Dal Reach, Dal Reach, Dal Ruach, the spirit. It's the Hebrew word for spirit or breath, and it's not Hebrew, it's Hebridean. Hebridean. Over here is the outer Hebrides, and this is the inner Hebrides, and this is the tree, which is connected to the word arboratory or arbore. So Arthur the Great Bear is the key to all life, and people out there aren't teaching us, showing us there's something wrong. So I hope this helps you. There's quite a lot of information in this. I did wander a bit. I tend to wander a bit when I'm putting these talks together, but if you watch them over and over, you'll get what I'm saying. Stay blessed, stay sovereign, and keep rising up. The time has come now.